So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually record over the old video, because one of the problems that I'm having is that this video is not harvesting or hosting the actual recording of what this is telling us. And so what I want you to notice first of what is given to you in the Excel chart is that we do have 25 days worth of information, and each day has 4 observations within it. So as the video plays on, and I'm going to pause it as it goes, so let me go ahead and move it forward a little bit because I need to be able to see the directions above. So we're going to begin with, as we look at the observations, there are 4, and I'm pausing this here. You'll notice that it says here that these 4 columns, the X bar per day, the lower confidence level, the center, and the upper confidence level are to be created. In this column, the X bar per day, we're going to take the average of each day and of the 4 observations. And you'll see me do equals average, and then I'm just going to highlight across for the first day, and it's going to give me an average for that day. I'm then going to grab this corner and I'm going to drag down, and that'll give me the average for the 4 observations for each of the 25 days. Notice the directions above. It says the data below was taken by a quality control manager to measure the exact amount of paint in the company's 4-liter paint cans. There's a reason I said that 4 so loudly, because 4 is that center number that we are looking for. That is our target. So all of this column where it says center, you are literally going to write the number 4 all the way down, or just drag it, put a 4 there, copy and drag, and you'll see me do that as well. Notice that it says 4 samples are taken on each of the 25 days. Excel functions and cell references should be used to complete the 4 missing columns. I've already resolved 2 of the columns. We've done the X bar and the center. We're then going to talk about the confidence in a moment. So go ahead, I'm going to let this play, and you'll see I'm basically reading the information there out loud. And so because it's a 4-liter paint can that we're focusing on, that is our center. Again, I'm focusing on 4-liter paint cans. And so that value is simply copied all the way down that column. So you can just do 4 and then grab that bottom right corner and drag it all the way down, as I'm insinuating there. Drag it all the way down, and there you go. Okay, so that's easy. You can center it, make it all pretty. I like, enhancing it with a bold. And then we go to the X bar. As I explained, it's the average of those 4 for day 1. So you literally are going to use the function average. So if you notice, you have 4 observations. You're going to average them out. So you're going to say equals average, which starts to pop up. Double click on that, and then hold and drag across. Hit enter. Once you hit enter, there's your average. And now just go back up to the top, grab the bottom right corner, and you should have unique averages pop up if you held it correctly, and there you go. Now, the next part, you have to understand, they're giving you a standard deviation of 0.25. And so now we need to compute the LCL and the UCL. So by definition, we already know that sigma is 0.25. And so we begin with the center of 4. You notice that our very minimum would be 3 for the averages. That's the X bars. The lowest number we have there is still in the 3s. So we're going to say, in this case, equals. I'm going to click on the 4, and because it's the lower confidence, we're subtracting. So we're going to subtract, and then use a parentheses to keep you honest. We're going to use 3 times 0.25, which is given to us, and we're going to divide that by 2. And then we close the parentheses. And hit enter. We're going to go back up and copy that formula as well, but we're going to also repeat it on the upper. Again, you hit 4, plus, in this case, parentheses 3 times, again, the 0.25, and then divide that by 2. Close parentheses, enter, and now we have our confidence level for the model. Grab and drag. Same thing for the opposite for the UCL. And it has to be the same number for the upper confidence and lower confidence. Keep that in mind. Okay, and that should give us the 4.375 we were looking for, with our center value being 4. Now, if you want to quantify what the difference is here, one of the elements, or I guess steps that you should take to see the difference comparing the average and the LCL and the UCL respectively, you'll notice that from 4 there's a difference of between 4 and 3.93875, which is our X bar. So what I'm going to do is, in a subsequent column, we're going to take a moment and we're going to look at the differences, in a sense, which is going to tell us or give us an idea of what this should look like. So if I begin, let's go up to the 11th row. I'm going to then begin by subtracting equals J11 F11 minus H11. Okay, F11 minus H11. Grab that tip and drag it down. You have it 25 values that should each be unique and tell you what the differences are between your average and your center value of 4, which is what you want to know. Now I use conditional formatting and I'm looking for values that are less than. Notice that I'm changing that to 0 and hitting enter, because that's going to be my cutoff for positive and negative values. And it helps us see the picture visually, as you can already see it with the red. One of the next steps that I take then, as I look at the numbers and I prepare to actually create that X bar chart, which is going to show us the center, the upper confidence, and the lower confidence. The dots in our scatter plot there are going to be the actual averages themselves. What that column K represents is the difference between the center and each of the points. So if you notice here, I'm rewriting all of the positive values. I'm just literally copying them over. And I'm going to eventually end up with a column of positive values and a column of the negative values. Notice all I did was equals. All right, and I'm going to take a sum of all of those positive values, just the positive. And you see how I got 1.024? So that's how much paint I'm over serving the client. In other words, the client, or and generally speaking, I'm spending 1.024 too much in terms of the amount of paint that I'm serving. If I repeat that process for the paint that I'm underserving, so I'm going to literally sum up all of my reds, which are where I'm underserving the client. So they paid for 4 ounces, they got a little bit less. So then what I'm doing there is considering the possibility of what if I just turn those to zeros and then I believe I changed my mind. But it is an option. You can take those zeros out. So I need that column. So I kept the column. I just copied it over and inserted a new column, or considered that as a possibility. And then decided to just insert a new column there. And then repeat that process with the negatives. So if you notice, I'm just taking all the negatives, adding them over. Equals copy, basically equals copy again. Equals copy. I did one by one just to drill in the point that I'm literally just looking at only the negatives. So equals copy, continue. And then once I'm done with these last 4, I'm going to add them all up again. Notice I'm not changing any values, I'm just analyzing what I have. Because that's the whole purpose of you doing this, right? And so we go ahead again, we auto sum this. Understand these are all negatives. So that means that I am underserving some clients at a rate of negative 1.2945. So if you add up all the paint, kind of breaking even technically. So I'm adding them together and I'm saying, okay, well, that's negative 0.27, a difference. So I'm actually underserving all of my clients. So the machine is under pouring, or pouring less than 4 ounces. It's more properly stated. All right. So that is interesting to me as a proprietor, because if my customers ever were to challenge me on something like this, I would want to be able to counter with some sort of an explanation, right? Now the next thing would be to actually create the chart. And in this video, in the next few seconds, you're going to see me actually begin that process. And so I'm basically going through the explanation there, just talking about general business practices, and if a client were to approach me, alright, and we notice there I'm reducing them all to double digits. That's just a formatting. Obviously you can grab the whole column and do all that. You don't have to necessarily do one by one in that case. That would actually be a bad idea in this case, because if you notice you have some like 0.0585, you're losing almost a full point. But if you do summarize it, sometimes it rounds up and it balances out. Alright, there we go. Alright. And this is just a formality if you really think about it. That's looking at the maximum amounts that this over poured. It looks like those two values do stick out in terms of over pouring. So those 2 days, which is sample 10 or day 10 and 7. Those two were bad days for the machine in a sense. In terms of performance, anyway. And so I'm just going through the data, showing you how, I analyzed it and how I was thinking in terms of this. And I repeated that process in this case. All right, and so if I summarize that, that would be negative 0.27. That would be negative 0.20. And those are my two worst experiences on the negative side in terms of underserving the client. And so, you're getting granular. You're looking at the data a little bit more intensely, shall we say. So compared to the center of 4, you can see that there is a significant difference between those values when we compare them respectively. So you want to do that and check it out against the averages as well, because that's helpful to do. And so now I'm going to create the chart. Notice that I'm highlighting the X bar, the LCL, the center, and the UCL. I am selecting a line chart. Now you can actually enhance this and make this a little bit larger by playing with the sizing of the table. And in this case, if you notice, the yellow line is our upper, our orange is the lower, the middle is the center, the gray line, and our dots, or the blue line that is connecting the dots, is our mean, our average. And so once you start playing with the Excel sheet and you click on this top portion of the chart title, this comes up where you can actually select different values or different modifications for the chart. Some students do enhance the chart by making it a little bit more readable, because you could get rid of other values and make it a little more steadfast so you can read it better. You can actually see the points if you select the actual data points. Let's see here. What I'm explaining there is, remember those values that I pulled out and I said these are extremes? So you have one negative extreme here, which if you hover over the area with your Excel sheet, you can actually select that point. You have two really extreme upper points up here. And so you can play with that and you can see the distances. If you get even more intricate, you click on that plus. You can have the actual data point values show up. As you can see there, I'm highlighting those specific points that I was just talking about. And if you don't want them connected, you can actually make them unconnected and they're just dots, which actually looks really nice. It's an easier flow for the data, and those of you that are really comfortable are going to do lots of different things with these charts. As you can see up there, there's plenty of ways that you can format the charts themselves. So in the written part, a lot of the explanation that you perhaps need to include is to just summarize what you actually have done and then what you see. And then when you do comparative analysis like I did in columns J, K, and L, you can discuss that as part of your assignment. And that's what we're looking for. Use the data or the charts to solidify your point. Use the data to draw conclusions. Include the data in parts of your report. Okay? And that is what I'm looking for this assignment. If you have any questions, we can always chat. But I think you have what you need here. So I wish you the best of luck on this assignment.